As a boy, my mom used to say, "Plenty of women out there, if you cheat, we will just replace you." So when I saw my girlfriend of 3 years in the pouring rain holding an umbrella for another man just when she thought she had hidden everything perfectly, I didn't say anything and calmly took the picture. I immediately grabbed the video of her kissing and hugging the freshman in the rain and spread it around Jing University. As soon as the news broke, comments from our mutual friends exploded on the screen. They were so distressed, and that didn't surprise me at all. After all, who didn't know how devoted Xiaodia was to me in the beginning? She pursued me for exactly 2.5 years, insisted relentlessly, and asked me for this 88 times in total. Eventually, I begrudgingly accepted it, remaining glued to the updates, and then I felt like that 100% love she had shown had been violently torn in two. One half stayed with me, and the other was given and hidden away with someone else. I didn't confront her, nor did I make a scene about winning her back. I just silently deleted all my social media, packed my bags, and left the place where we lived without looking back. The next morning, very early, Shudaya received a call from her best friend. "Xiaodia, have you lost your mind?" Hearing this, Shudaya was stunned for a moment, but her friend didn't give her time to think and immediately began to reprimand her. "How could someone so good be appreciated and you didn't even get involved with another man? What did he do to hurt you, to make you hurt him like this?" Xiaodia received a harsh scolding from her friend, and only then did she realize the main point in those words. She suddenly stood up. "What do you mean? Explain properly. I'm asking you where you are now." She was about to answer, but suddenly remembered that she was still at the hospital with Lo, and the words stopped in her mouth and the words. And her friend obviously knew why she wasn't answering and became even more irritated seeing this. "Are you still at the hospital with that Luli guy?" Whether you know it or not, photos and videos of the two of you are already all over the university's network. Hearing this, Sha's head seemed to explode. Only then did she remember that she had a date the night before. But after taking Luli to the hospital, she got distracted and forgot. And as for Shenmo, did he wait for me the whole night long at the bakery? And most importantly, what will Shenmo think when he sees those photos? She hastily hung up the phone and then noticed numerous missed calls, all of which had been from me. At that moment, Sha felt such a sharp pain that she reflexively put her hand to her chest. She quickly opened our chat window, and when she saw my message arranging the date, she immediately tried to call me to explain. But at that moment, Luli beside her grabbed her hand. "Xiaodia, can you stay here with me?" Sha said nothing and pushed his hand away emotionlessly. At that moment, reason told Choya that if she didn't arrive at the time I had arranged at the place I had sent her, I would be very angry. But remembering the scene when I shot her from the fire in the back, Shidia's restless heart gradually calmed down. No, he wouldn't do that. He loves me so much. He even went into a fire for me. How could he give up on me because of that? Time slowly passed, and I stared at the empty space in front of me. 10 minutes, then another 10 minutes, and Shelda Agya still hadn't appeared. And at that moment, a whole hour had passed since the time we had arranged. I was a little disappointed, but not that much. I wanted to end things in person. Too bad someone didn't want to end this peacefully. Thinking about that, I lowered my head and posted the text I had already prepared in the moments. A few minutes later, the Ding University network exploded again because someone had taken a screenshot of my moments, and the content was happily single. I ignored the university network, which had become agitated again, and went straight to the airport. When I arrived at the airport, I had the driver take the car back to the mansion, and after telling Aunt Zhao where I was going, I turned off my cell phone and boarded the plane. 3 hours after I got on the plane, Zadia finally left the hospital. But what she didn't expect was to receive the news that I had announced I was single. So she opened my memories in disbelief, but all she saw was a horizontal line. Seeing this, Zadia froze and couldn't help but suspect that I had blocked her or deleted her. Thinking about this, she called me urgently, but on the other end of the line, only a cold mechanical voice came repeatedly. Zadia didn't know what situation she was in now. She only felt that at the moment she could no longer talk to me. The world seemed to have turned upside down, and everything before her eyes lost its color. Clinging to the last thread of hope, she ran to the address I had sent. Zadia looked around, hoping to see my silhouette, but there were people coming and going, but not me. This coffee shop had been opened by Xia, especially for me, and it was also the place where we hung out most often. She stared at that familiar place as if each table held the image of the two of us talking non-stop during our dates and smiling at each other. But it was only a moment, and the illusion before her eyes vanished. Zuda had already found an employee and asked where I had gone, feigning calm. Big team. Young Master Shen sat here for 2 hours and then left without ordering anything. What time did he leave? Let me think. Around 10:30. Thinking about that time, she had lowered her eyes to her cell phone. The message there said meeting, scheduled for 9:30 at the coffee shop. But now it was 2 p.m., and after I arrived at the agreed time, I still waited for her for an hour. What was Shane Mo thinking during that hour? What kind of decision did he make? That during that hour when I wasn't there, he didn't make any attempt to look for me even though he didn't want to admit it at that moment. All of Shaw's arrogant confidence began to crumble. She started to realize that I was really very angry now. Could Shimu be doing this now? Doesn't he want me anymore? As soon as that thought came to mind, Xiaodia felt her eyes burn instantly and her hands began to tremble uncontrollably. She returned to the car like a living dead person, and Hu with trembling hands kept calling me nonstop. There was no way to tell how much time had passed. When Juda's other cell phone in the passenger seat also started vibrating, it must be Luli, who couldn't reach her on that number and therefore called the backup phone. But Xiaodia had no intention of answering. She felt her chest suffocating, her head throbbing, her eyes burning, and even blinking seemed extremely difficult, but her mind was completely blank. Xiaodia wanted to drive to Shanam's house to look for me, but realized that the hand holding the steering wheel didn't even have the strength for that. In the few seconds that Judia stood there, her best friend called, and Judia answered quickly. The first sentence she said was, "Help me." The friend on the other end was speechless for a moment and then sighed and agreed. After sending her location to her friend, Xiaodia finally seemed to find a way to unload everything and murmured in pain. I can't talk to Shane Mu. I didn't know it would end like this. He must be suffering a lot. That's why he doesn't want to talk to me. It's not that you didn't know. You were just greedy. Thank you, Xiaodia. If it weren't for our childhood friendship, with this kind of attitude of yours, even I wouldn't be able to respect you. Her friend's words were harsh, but Xiaodia didn't argue. She lowered her head, and also wondered why she had done something that hurt me. When did all this start, anyway? It seemed to have started when I, even though admired and praised by everyone, the perfect example in the eyes of others, was still the most special being in her eyes, and irrespective of when or where we were, provided I was nearby, her gaze always settled upon me. No matter the time, as long as I needed her, she would appear by my side without hesitation. She didn't throw tantrums or demand anything. She endured everything without complaining. And over time, Chaldadia, sharp and striking in everyone's eyes, became completely devoid of harshness in my presence. But when Luli with a completely different personality appeared, Zaudia began to get distracted. Compared to me, who hardly showed any desires, Luli was too easy to satisfy. All she had to do was give him a little attention, and he would be happy for a whole month. This new feeling of fulfillment made her stop resisting Luli's intentional advances and began to let herself be swayed. She started lying to me and began to dedicate more time to Luli. But what did I do wrong? Chowdoagia had never realized, as she did now, how petty and shameful she was. She slumped weakly into the driver's seat, and when her friend arrived, what did she see? Chowdoagia in that utterly dejected state. Smelling the disinfectant on her friend covered her nose in disgust. Don't tell me you went to see Shamal in those dirty clothes. Hearing her friend's voice, Xiaodadia finally snapped out of it. Shortly after, she forced a smile. I'll get ready before I go see him. Seeing her like that, her friend couldn't say anything more either and took her to a hotel to wash and get ready before they went to my house. But the two stood at my door for half an hour and no one came out. With no way out, Zudia took a few apprehensive steps and tried to open it with her fingerprint, but as soon as she placed her finger, she received a message of failed recognition. Hearing that mechanical voice, Zaudadia froze instantly. She wasn't satisfied and wanted to try again, but at that moment, she heard Aunt Z's voice behind her. Miss Shaw. Aunt, I came looking for Shino. I know. The young master went on a trip and isn't home during this time. When will he return? I don't know either. Tomorrow, I'm also going abroad for a while, so you don't need to come here again in the future. Seeing that Aunt Z was about to enter right after, saying this, Xia quickly stopped her. Aunt Zhao, please help me call Senmon. I have something to discuss with him. I'm asking you. It was the young master's order. I can't help you. Miss Xia, you've known the young master for so many years, you must know what he's like. Pose to yourself a truthful question. What action did you take to incite our young master's decisive demeanor? Moreover, from an early age, our young master never endured severe pain, and you were the first person to cause him to weep with fury. I hope you won't regret it afterward. Sha's throat felt blocked by something, and for a long time, she couldn't say anything. As for Aunt Zoe's question, she had neither the answer nor the courage to respond, nor. When the door in front of her closed again, tears finally streamed down Zoan's reddened eyes. Her clenched hands turned pale, and her whole body felt like it was about to collapse. Her friend saw all of this, but in the end she could only sigh. She and Judia knew they wouldn't be able to see me today. As for the future, Judia simply didn't dare think about it. At the same time, after the plane landed at Gangneung International Airport, I accidentally bumped into a pot-bellied man harassing a girl. He clearly wanted her contact information, and after being rejected, he started touching her on purpose and even went around spreading rumors that the girl only cared about money. Everyone around was just watching the spectacle. I couldn't pretend I didn't see, so I went to help. But after a few words, the man lost control and started cursing at me. Hey, and I didn't let it go. I went straight for him. A short time later, the airport security guards arrived running and surrounded us at the same time. In the VIP lounge not far away, a few pairs of eyes were watching everything. This kid talks a lot. He really does. But now he's gonna have a problem. At Gangneung Airport, resorting to aggression isn't such a serious thing, but it's not a small thing either. If the man who was beaten keeps insisting, he'll probably end up a few days in the police station. Handier's gonna save the hero now. Don't worry, he doesn't need it. Hearing this, Jang Wheel frowned and was about to say something when he saw me making a call not far away. Then the security leader picked up the radio and said something, and then, with all due respect, gestured for me to pass us. After I left, they simply dragged away the man who was kneeling on the ground, unable to get up because of the pain. Hindi, how did you know he wouldn't have a problem? When that boy got off the plane, he was escorted by the airport staff. To get that much attention from the staff, it's not enough to just have money. He definitely has another identity behind it. Outside the airport, since the girl was so enthusiastic and insisted so much on buying me dinner, I felt awkward refusing. When I finished checking into the hotel, it was already 8 p.m. Looking at my cell phone, which was draining very quickly because of the non-stop calls, I frowned in irritation. And then, while I was charging it, I called my parents to let them know I had arrived safely. Oh, the next day, my parents asked me to tell my older sister, Shane Kinger, the hotel address so she could send me some things. After I hung up, I looked at the number that had taken the opportunity to call back and let out an impatient click of my tongue. Although it was an unknown number, I didn't even need to think to know who it was. Shoud was on the other end of the line. I thought I wouldn't answer that call either, but it went through. Looking at the call screen, Xiajia's heart skipped a beat. Are you okay? In less than a day, Shoud was already unrecognizable, with red eyes, dark circles under them, and no energy whatsoever. I can't see it, but I saw it too. And I don't care, Miss Shah. Don't you get tired? 99 missed calls. If my phone wasn't good quality, I think it would have already crashed. Where are you? I'll look for you. Whatever it is, let's talk face to face, okay? And what exactly do you want to tell me? That you've been having something secret with me and Lully at the same time? That your little game was too exciting, or that even though you betrayed me, I'm still the person you love most, eh? Xiaojia, your regret means nothing to me. Isn't that right, Shanam? Nothing concrete happened between me and Loli. At most, that hug. Nothing more than that. Don't reject me like that right away. Give me a chance, okay? She choked back tears as she tried to win me back. Since losing my contact the day before, Shadajia felt like her world had become a complete void. She only had one thought in her head. I'm the one who can't get away only by finding you. Because everything around me makes sense again. That's why she searched for me like crazy. But she didn't expect to receive only a "you're worthless" from me. Xiaodagia didn't even have time to finish what she wanted to say because all that remained on her phone was the continuous sound of a disconnected call. She called again reflexively, but realized I had already blocked that number, so she could only change her phone and try again. I looked at my phone, which was ringing again, and remembered what I had promised my parents, so I held back and didn't turn it off. Then the first thing I did when I left was go to a mobile phone store to get a new SIM card. After that, I sent the new number to my parents and stopped using the old SIM card. Only then did I follow the map's recommendation and go to the door of a bar. A few minutes later, John Gray was following the guy behind the bar and walking towards me. I was sitting on a swivel stool in front of the bar, playing with my phone. He looked up and yawned, but then suddenly stopped and his eyes widened. It can't be that much of a coincidence, right? Django's heart skipped a beat, and then she leaned against me. I'm in charge of the bar. Handsome, what do you want with me? I want to reserve that whole area of tables near the coast. It was only after entering the bar that I realized that this cobblestone street ended right at the coastline and that you could see the entire coastal landscape from that side. I have a rather strange habit. I like to seek silence amidst the hustle and bustle. Jang Wheel followed my gaze to the west side of the bar and then smiled. You're a bit bossy, aren't you? That's the best area of the bar, and you want to occupy it all by yourself? If it weren't for the fact that you're too handsome, I might even consider kicking you out. I glanced at her and saw, as if by a trick, a card appear in my hand. Are you gonna let that money go through? Jenny stared at the card in my hand and then narrowed her eyes, nest smiling. She took the card and handed it to the attendant behind her, and only then asked me how many seats I wanted. Within a 10-meter radius, Janiel answered immediately and gave a signal with her eyes. And someone went to clean the tables right away. Shortly after, they came to take me near the glass window. And Aldi, why did you accept his request? The bar doesn't need the money. Hearing this, Janiel glanced at him and remembered the scene at the airport when a certain woman couldn't take her eyes off me and replied indirectly, I'm afraid of getting in trouble because of me. After she walked away, the guy who had asked only then understood what Janiel had meant. Janiel didn't care what the bar staff thought and hurried into the elevator going up to the second floor and then ran nonstop to the private room. Guess who I found downstairs? But when she opened the door, the two people inside were already asleep. Seeing this, she pouted and yawned lazily before closing her eyes as well. Half an hour later, Len went to wake her with a pat. Let's go downstairs to eat. Yan-Wai yawned and left half asleep following the two. She had barely left the room. When Jill finally woke up, she was about to speak, but saw Gutanon standing in front of her, looking down. Noticing where she was looking, Can tapped her on the forehead. Hondi, I forgot to tell you, that whole side has been reserved by that boy. Even the counter, where we usually eat, is within my 10 meters, and now 1/3 of the salon's customers are queuing in front of his spot, And even those who didn't get in line have all their attention focused there. There are even quite a few men gonna get in line to see, too. And I don't refuse anyone, as long as they get in line and have a nice face and body. Anyone can sit in front of me and play around with me. Whoever wins gets my contact information. Whoever loses gets a run around the coast outside. As they stood there, another two girls immediately ran outside the door. Only then did she realize what was happening. And Zhang was speechless to an exaggerated degree. That boy really knows how to have fun. Louis didn't want to comment. Jago King looked away and walked towards the elevator. I don't know why, but Young Wheel felt an inexplicable chill. She bumped into Lang on purpose. Yay, don't you think something's strange? The strange thing is your head. You even managed to sell the place to eat. You'd better donate your brain, too. Gu doesn't like the private room to smell like food. That's why they always ate on the first floor. Zhang clearly knew why Leng Wei was angry and went right after her, apologizing. I'll talk to him and ask to borrow a table for us to have dinner. Jiang Weil didn't care about Leng Wei's coldness, and when she came down, she ran straight to me. She greeted me and sat down across from me. Drinks are on the house tonight. Can I borrow a table for dinner? Sure. As soon as she received my nod, Zhang went to the table next to mine and gestured to Guingen and Leng Wei. Lengyi commented in a low voice with disdain. Even though she owns this place, she ended up having to borrow a table from a customer just to eat. It's all Jun Shit's fault. In contrast, Gingen didn't seem affected at all. She looked away from me and went to sit next to Zhang and Wheel. While they waited for their food, Zhang and Yao leaned on the sofa closest to me, watching me play dice with whoever came to chat. Time passed second by second, and there were very few people ahead of me left. Nobody could beat me. Seeing this, I yawned boredly and got up to leave. Janiel was startled by my movement and immediately asked, "Are you leaving already? Are you too bored? Or are you thinking of playing with us?" And is very good at dice. Hearing this, I stopped and turned my face, my gaze landing on the woman who was playing with her cell phone with her head down. To be honest, of all the women I've ever met, she was the one who best matched my taste. Perhaps because she noticed my gaze. Cooking Han, who was looking at her cell phone, raised her eyes and stared at me. Their eyes met and I nodded towards her, my expression open and welcoming me before walking towards her. "Are you gonna play?" Hearing this, Cooking Han chuckled, even though she knew the answer. Play what? With all the movement on that side. This guy didn't notice, or maybe he did after all. he was messing with his cell phone. I thought for a moment and completely lost interest. After all, I had only come here because she was looking at me before, and I took the chance since she wasn't interested, so it was better to let it go. Thinking about that, I gave a polite smile. Sorry to bother you. As soon as I said that, I turned around and left. Guk-san looked at my back as I left and for no clear reason felt his heart clench, and the word play escaped his lips. I heard it, but continued pretending I didn't. But Jang Wheel didn't want to let me go like that and ran to stop me, speaking hurriedly. Play. Hangi said she's playing. I don't play with her. How about playing with you? Hearing this, Jan Yo froze for a moment, but the next second she noticed Ginahan's gaze and understood immediately. Then she started to deny it with all her might. I don't know how to play with Hangier. Hondi is very good. She spoke words of praise, but her gaze was full of pleading. Sales Gukingen rarely looked twice at anyone. If because of her this went wrong, the big wigs in Jang's circle wouldn't leave her alone. Although it was our first time seeing each other, I quickly understood what she meant and wasn't very keen. So I thought about refusing politely, but she didn't want to play with me. What do you mean? She's just playing hard to get, you know? I smiled unconsciously and turned to look at Gukeng-kan, seeing her stiff and embarrassed because of it, but still trying to maintain her composure as if nothing had happened. And that only made me laugh even more openly. I sat back down in front of her and shook the dice cup on the table. How are we going to play? Gukeng-han leaned forward slightly. Best of 3. Following your rules, whoever loses takes a running lap outside. Whoever wins gets the contact. You can bet high or low. Gwynhan didn't argue and let me decide. So it's gonna be low. You start? Gwynhan didn't refuse anymore. Just pushed the dice cup, gave it 2 or 3 haphazard shakes on the table, and stopped. Then he gestured for me to continue. And I also just shook it a few times and let go, but the result was just as young Wheel had said. Even when I rolled 3 ones every time, Gukeng managed to stack the 3, leaving only 1 on one side. I was cornered, I lost and accepted the result. Getting up immediately to run around. Seeing my movement, Gukeng-han immediately gave me a meaningful look and Jangal understood right away, stopping me again. Wait, handsome, stay a little longer. What do you mean? These girls are being so nice. They don't want me to go for a run. Of course not. We won, so we want your contact. Hearing that, I couldn't play dumb anymore. So I could only obediently take out my cell phone. And after Gukeng-han and I saved each other's contact, Jan and Il also joined the conversation. I also want to add, but I certainly don't play dice as well as you. How about next time you come here I waive everything for you? You better buy me a meal. So you could tell just from Yunkwale's personality that she knew about food. Following her advice, I wouldn't risk making a bad choice. Hearing this, Jangal quickly scanned the code. So it's settled. My name is Jun Wee. By the way, you came to visit Gang at the moment. You can say that. If you need anything, just send me a message. I'm going back to rest. As soon as I finished speaking, without giving Jingal a chance to stop me, I left the bar a step early. A few minutes later, seeing Gukingen's thoughtful expression, Lengu couldn't resist and asked, "What's wrong, Randia? Did you become interested in him?" Gukingen rubbed his swollen temples and sighed. But he wasn't interested in me. Lengui didn't comment. He only glanced at Jang Wies, who was much warmer with Jungo than with you. But that HEH comment startled Jangal, who was watching my moments. What do you mean? But thinking about the scene now, it really seems like it. Shamol was better to me, more than with Gusingen. Saying this, she handed the phone to Gusingen. Look, he just broke up with me. Judging by the moments, it was a day or 2 ago. Hearing this, Leng Yui approached incredulously. How can that not be true? Is there really someone so clueless? Even though my personality and my appearance aren't his style, he wouldn't contradict his own conscience by saying I'm bad. Yeah. But when she saw the content of my moments, she also fell silent in a rare way. So is there really someone so clueless? Jangal frowned and began to analyze. So Shem came to Gangsheng to heal the pain of the breakup. That's great. Handy takes advantage of the opportunity. Looking at Jiang, we all excited. Gukinan couldn't help but doubt herself. Is it that obvious? No, it's not. But from the first glance you gave Shen Mo yesterday, you couldn't take your eyes off him. Not only that, but at the airport, yesterday you stated he didn't need our assistance, yet you still made contact with the airport manager to make things easier for him. As soon as Gingen uttered those words, it was obvious that she had just sent a message to someone. Jan and Ol have sharp eyes and caught a glimpse of the message she sent. If what Gingen did yesterday could still be considered a rare impulse of kindness, then what she did today really took them both by surprise. That's why Jang we suggested asking me for a table, and that's why she made a fuss about me playing dice with Gu Qingqian. Gu Qingqian didn't refuse, which proved her assumption was correct. Looking at the two of them in front of her, making faces, Gu Xinan shook her head awkwardly, but didn't deny it. Yanhan had never had a girlfriend, but she also knew that what she felt for me was far from just wanting to be friends. Her heart racing, her body burning with heat. All of this reminded her of sensations she had never experienced before. Thinking about this, she silently repeated my name in her heart, and after a while, under the curious gazes of Zhang Wei and Leng Gu, her ears turned red. Finally, she spoke and imposed a rule. Don't bother him. Jay and Lengi exchanged a glance and nodded in agreement. Dengi knew that this kind of feeling had to run its course, and Jialu thought that as long as she didn't mention Gu Qinghan, if she asked me out, it wouldn't go against Gu Qingdan's suggestion. Yeah. On the other hand, since I left the bar, I noticed several glances secretly following me. The strange thing is that before I could do anything, those glances completely disappeared. After walking around a bit more and confirming that those eyes secretly following me had vanished for good, I finally took a taxi back to the hotel. After a quick freshening up, I grabbed my phone and went to the hotel balcony. I lay down on the rocking chair and opened the app to reply to messages. When he saw me back, my friend immediately sent several question marks and started telling me what had happened that day. On the university network, the photos and videos of Judia with Luli had disappeared. I thought Judia had arranged for someone to delete everything. Besides, he also sent me a photo. Claudia posted on the university network that Luli was just a misunderstanding and that our relationship was stable, that it hadn't ended. I saw that many people believed it. We are childhood friends. We grew up together and we dated for a few years, besides having similar looks, families, and abilities. So, in the eyes of the students at Jinqing University, we were a perfect couple. When the photo of my moments came out that day, many people didn't believe it, thinking that someone had deliberately staged the image just to cause trouble. Today, Judia released this statement, and even more people started to believe that Xali and I haven't broken up. I opened the photo my friend sent. It was a screenshot of the statement posted by Xia, and the content said, "Thank you for everyone's concern, but my relationship with Shen Mo is stable regarding the photos from 2 days ago. It was just a gesture of goodwill upon seeing an injustice. I ask everyone not to continue maliciously spreading these photos and videos. Otherwise, I will take steps to protect my rights." It was a very short note, but so firm and correct that no one could find fault with it. I pulled back the corner of my mouth, replied to a few messages from my friend, and then opened the university forum. Because of the buzz, the post was still at the top. I didn't even need to search to find it. I opened the comment section and typed a line directly. I am currently single. The story about a stable relationship with Xia is her invention. Furthermore, the photos and videos of Xia and Luli embracing romantically in the rain were first released by me. I politely wished them both happiness. May they stay together. After replying to that, I thought that since Xiaxia wanted to wear me down so much, I didn't need to be so kind either. So I copied that message again and posted it once on my own page, and even tagged Zudia and Luli. After doing all that, I felt light, fiddled with my phone a bit, and went back to my room to sleep. At the same time, when Shudaijia saw my reply, her face had already completely darkened. She immediately opened the window from a private message on the college network. "Call me where you are. Does it really have to be so definitive? After everything we've been through all these years, give me a chance. Let me explain everything, okay?" She waited a long time and still didn't get a reply from me. Weakened, Zaudia leaned back on the sofa with chest pain, grabbed her drink from the table and downed it in one gulp. Then she sent me another message. "Even without seeing each other, it's okay. Luli, I can explain right now, okay? He just wanted me to care more about him. Between us, there was only that hug that day. I only love you. I never thought about separating from you. Don't push me away like this, okay?" After sending that message, X let herself fall from the sofa onto the rug day by day. She didn't know who had interfered. She only knew that now she couldn't find out where I was at all. I simply didn't give her a single second to breathe and just disappeared from her life. Claudia suffered all the time and could only reread our chat history, hoping to receive a message from me the next instant. She thought that even if I yelled at her or hit her, it would still be better than this total silence. But when she actually received such a cold and distant message from me, her heart felt like it was being cut by blades. Upon seeing that, Chowdo closed her eyes and the tears flowed ceaselessly down her cheeks. Cha, I know I messed up. Considering that you once loved me so deeply, why can't you just soften up a bit for me? Ever since I dropped that bomb on the college network that day, I've barely kept up with the news from there. That day, I took advantage of the rain to take an afternoon nap. And as soon as I woke up, I received a message from Young. We've only met once. I genuinely did not expect that she would be thinking about me so actively. I opened the conversation. Shanmal, want to go out and have some fun? I organized a meeting at the property. The view is very good. Are you interested? As soon as I opened the conversation here. On the other side, Young already saw the little typing notification and immediately sent another message. Well, fine. It's all people from the circle with very calm personalities. I won't let anyone bother you. When I read that, I thought for a moment and deleted the words, I won't. The person had already thought of everything at that level, and I also had nothing to do, so I could at least go have some fun. Soon after, I asked her to tell me the time and place. Seeing that I had agreed, Jan smiled broadly. We leave in an hour. It's a private area. Cars from outside don't enter. I'll pick you up. Of course, if you don't want to, I can also wait for you at the entrance. Since I had agreed to go along, I didn't mind revealing where I was. Especially because with the L family's position in Guncheng, if someone really wanted to investigate, they wouldn't fail to find out. So I immediately sent my location. An hour passed very quickly. I had just gotten up when I received the photo sent by Young with the message, I'm down here. After informing my sister Shin-imik out of my route, I took the elevator down. When I left the hotel, Jan and Yu saw me immediately. She first stuck her body out of the car window, but quickly realized it didn't look good and ran back inside. Then she opened the door. Actually, Young-ul didn't even need to call me. I would have come. That white Range Rover was too eye-catching. I walked quickly to the car, still debating whether to sit in the front or the back. Then Zhao opened the back door directly for me. The front seat already has an important person reserved, so you'll have to sit in the back. Sorry. It's okay. I nodded and thanked her. Just as I was about to get in, a hand appeared in my field of vision. I looked up, and it met the gaze of the person in the car directly in front of me. We saw each other again, and even then I was still impressed by Gu Qinghan's beauty. This woman is beautiful in a perfect way. Do you want me to help you get in? Hearing that, I didn't quite understand. That was her intention. I looked at her hand, then at her face, and finally rested my hand on her arm naturally. As soon as I sat up straight, I started to put on my seatbelt. Inkan stared intently at the spot where my hand had touched her. She thought my hand was very warm, and the instant I touched it, she felt a tingle in her heart and her body even trembled slightly. Gu Qinghan found this strange, as if her whole body was heating up. She pressed her lips together, feeling the heat rise to her ears, and quickly turned her face to the window. Trying to disguise it in Zhang, Ye saw the whole scene in the rearview mirror. Laughed inwardly a few times. Then she hummed and started the car. On the way, I held the seatbelt tighter, and Gingen, who had already calmed down, noticed my gesture immediately. She frowned and thought for a moment. Then she stretched her leg and lightly kicked the front seat. Slow down, Kimo. Are you feeling sick? Oh, I get car sick. It's all right. It's nothing serious. I don't vomit. I just get dizzy. Hearing this, Jangal immediately slowed down. Noticing her gesture, I quickly stopped her. You can drive at a normal speed. It's better to suffer all at once than to prolong it. Jangal was suspicious, but seeing my determined look, she could only accelerate a little again. Gusanon then gave the order to stop the car again after a few minutes had passed. Soon, someone who was already waiting by the side of the road handed her a bag they were carrying. Yatan took the bag, opened it, and looked, confirming it was what she wanted, and then took something out and handed it to me. Honey tea with grapefruit and lemon. It will relieve some of the discomfort. I was speechless for a moment and then pointed to myself. Hanbi, is this for me? You're the only one in this car who needs this. Then I'll accept it without ceremony. Thank you. I smiled politely at her and took the cup. When I raised my head to drink, my Pomoria went down, and Gu Qinghan watched distractedly for a moment. After that, I finished drinking. Gu Qinghan took another box of medicine from her bag and handed it to me. Medicine for Anju, still sealed. That's when I really felt awkward. Then I tried to remember her name and turned to look at her. Gu Qinghan, you're always so careful and thoughtful. Jianwei in the front seat burst out, laughing immediately upon hearing this. Careful, Gu Qinghan? That was simply the funniest joke she'd ever heard. But Gu Qinghan in the back seat showed no embarrassment nor did she answer my question. She just smiled and said, it's still an hour's drive to our destination. If you take the medicine, the second half of the trip won't be so bad. I nodded, took a pill, and swallowed it whole. Then I leaned back in the seat to rest. As for whether Gooking was a careful person or not, we barely knew each other. And for me, that wasn't that important. Time passed slowly. My breathing became more and more stable, and my head began to tilt along with the car's movement. When I was almost hitting the window, Gooking Han leaned to the side and instinctively extended her hand. Her hand landed between my head and the window. The next second, my forehead rested firmly on her palm. When she lowered her eyes and saw my face up close, Gusanan only then realized how sudden her gesture had been. She even controlled her breathing, afraid of waking me. But at that moment, Ginghan suddenly felt that her own heart was no longer obeying, beating one after another and completely betraying her nervousness. When I opened my eyes, what I saw was Ginghan tense like that. The distance between us was small, so small that it wasn't just her who felt I could smell her sandalwood scent too, and her arm was outstretched right in front of me, and the place where my forehead rested was warm. I moved slightly and pulled my head away, freeing Gookingan's hand. Gookingan withdrew her hand, her face a little flustered. Sorry to interrupt your rest. I shook my head and observed her features. Then I smiled slightly. I also really like the smell of sandalwood, of perfumes. You could say I'm passionate about this aroma. Because of that, I also gave Xia some perfumes with this sandalwood note, but unfortunately, Judajia never used Jago Queen Han. Seeing her confirmed my aesthetic taste. A cold woman really suits a woody perfume like that. Thinking about that, my eyes lit up. I have a perfume that suits you very well, but I didn't bring it with me. I'll have someone bring it another day. Then I can give it to you as a gift. Hearing this, Gookingan looked intently into my eyes, and only after a long time, she managed to force herself to look away. Sinner. Does Sen usually give gifts to people often? No, but Senritagu's face and aura go very well with that perfume. I had that fragrance custom made. It's unique in the world. Do you want it? Only a little while ago, Gusanan hadn't provided me with a clear answer, so I asked him again. Time passed second by second and Dal was driving ahead. I only felt that the atmosphere inside the car was strangely intimate, but at that moment, I was conscious enough not to interrupt. After a while, Cookinghand held back the urge to smile and nodded. Then it settled. As she said this, I immediately asked for her address on my cell phone. Dal drove a little further down the road and then let us know. The important figure arrived as soon as she finished speaking. The car stopped at a fork in the road where there were already 2 cars parked. When he saw us, a very young boy ran towards us. Yan Yao, what a sight. You didn't even come to pick me up, but when you saw who was in the back seat, you straightened up instantly and he flashed a smug smile. Andy, we haven't seen each other in ages. Pukinan just gave him an indifferent look, saying nothing, but that look alone was enough to make Shoyan tremble. Wensuembo. Since he was little, Sean had never been afraid of anything. He even exchanged blows with his own father, but with Gookinjin he was afraid to his core. If he had known Gwing Ingen was coming today, he would certainly have made up an excuse to skip it. They hadn't said before that Gwingin wasn't coming. How did she appear out of nowhere? He hunched his neck, wanting to hide behind the others, but as he took a step to the side, he saw the other person getting out of the car. After the introductions, he greeted me and seemed like the very outgoing type. After a few words, he started asking me if I had a brother or sister at home. I blinked and was about to answer when, at that moment, a voice suddenly sounded behind us. What are you talking about? The voice was so cold that even I felt my skin crawl. And Soyan, who until now had been, look at me. Hearing that voice, it felt like someone had squeezed her neck. Nothing serious. But do you really care that much about what I'm saying? Saying this, she rolled her eyes, looked at me, and then smiled. Before running off, seeing that I had stayed there somewhat to the side, Gukingen, not far away, called me. I looked in the direction of the voice and saw Ginham leaning against the Range Rover, gesturing for me to come, gesturing. From lip reading, it seemed she was calling me. I admit the scene was too beautiful, but why did it sound like they were calling a dog? I muttered this under my breath and walked towards her without haste. Gukingen kept looking at my lips, moving them, and only asked when I got close. What were you saying now? Hearing this, my expression froze instantly. I thought that Gukinghan's hearing was too good, even though I hadn't even spoken loudly. From my confused expression, Gukingen easily guessed what I was thinking. I saw, didn't hear. Only then did I understand. I turned my body and looked for a place to lean beside her. It was nothing. If Gutnan found out about my thoughts from just a little while ago and treated me like a dog, then I'd be absolutely speechless. It was a clearly vague answer, and Göttingen obviously noticed, so she changed the subject. After she went downstairs to get some air, she felt a little better. I'm better. I'm not so bad. Actually, after drinking the honey water and sleeping a little, I felt much better. Now I think it's because I got in and out of the car and breathed fresh air. I hardly feel the nausea anymore. Hearing this, the smile at the corner of Göttingen's lips widened a little. In the end, neither of us said anything more. We just kept our heads held high, looking at the sky ahead of us. After a while, in the distance, Soyan had already started playing with the others. He looked from side to side and chose to go complain to Yonghui when he passed by me and Guking Han, even deliberately quickening his pace. Seeing the energy of those younger people made me smile without realizing it. Gukingen, next to me, quickly noticed my smile. Do you like Zwan's personality? Gukingen could see that I had no resistance from Jungo to Soyan and Nishayan. There are people more expansive and energetic like that. How did you notice that? Using your eyes. So your eyes really observe well. Don't you think people like that transmit warmth? When I had just returned to the country, I felt out of place in everything around me. I knew how to speak Chinese, but in terms of context and speaking speed compared to children my age, I lagged far behind, perhaps out of pride. At that time, I didn't like speaking in front of others at all, afraid they would notice my weakness, but there were always some children nearby, insisting that I play with them, perhaps because they thought I was handsome. So even though I refused time after time, they patiently stayed with me. At first, when they realized I spoke slowly, they didn't laugh at me. They just patiently waited for me to finish. Then they even practiced my speaking speed with me. And over time, when I became accustomed, I truly integrated into the surroundings. Although after graduation, we hardly have any contact with people like that anymore. Since then, I feel a natural closeness. I was remembering the past. And when Gokingen heard the word warmth, he began to reflect silently. Would someone with a personality similar to mine manage to make me feel that sense of welcome? The answer was no, except for Jungo and a few others. In Gang Cheng, there was almost no one who wasn't afraid of her, and she certainly wasn't the type to make others feel welcome. A short time later, the group left again and arrived at the property. After getting out of the car, everyone went about their business, and only Zan and I were left with nothing. He pulled me to a corner of the property and then gave me a thumbs up, Moog, you're very handsome. So, since I'm complimenting you so much, could you tell me what your relationship with Randia is? Why are you asking that? Because you were the first man to receive special treatment alongside Randia. The first one? Seriously? With a face like Gukingen's. She must have plenty of suitors, right? Surprised, huh? Me too. Moge, how did you manage it to win Handia over? His phrasing clearly showed his certainty that Guingen and I were, in fact, quite different individuals. In Zwan's mind, Guingen was cold, slow to open up, and not very approachable. Those people only managed to appear in front of her because of consideration for the elders of the family, but I was different, according to what he had learned from Yongweo. Guingen showed up today at a meeting she hadn't even intended to attend, and even so, she and I had only seen each other a maximum of 2 times. Even when everyone got together a little while ago, Gukingen even made up an excuse to take me in her car, becoming my chauffeur, Not to mention Zoan, John, Yue, and the others had never ridden in a car driven by Gukingen. What are you talking about? Me winning her over? I turned my confused face towards Gukingen in the distance, as if she had sensed my reaction. She glanced at me, and our eyes met. I smiled at her openly, and then went back to talking to Xiaoyan. Why would I need to win her over? It can't be her trying to win me over, judging by Jungo's and the others' reactions. I wasn't slow enough not to notice that Guking Han was interested in me. Modi, you speak with so much confidence. Are you serious? I'm just kidding. For now, I'm not thinking about having anything with your Randier, so there's no need to get carried away by Seeing my calm reaction, Xiaoyan immediately became anxious. But you can. I only asked out of pure curiosity. I have no other intention. I like someone else. It's the one who came with me a little while ago. I know. There's no need to be nervous. Seeing his distressed face, I quickly tried to calm him down, while thinking about what Gutingen had done to scare someone so much, and That's when I heard familiar footsteps behind me. From Xiaoyan's position, I could see exactly who was coming. But the second he looked in that direction, he hid behind me. Mog, Han, and Yujae came over, seeing him trying to shrink completely behind my back. John Yao almost laughed. Then seeing their reaction, Joyan fell silent. He only knew that with me there, Gukingen wouldn't pay much attention to him. And that's exactly what happened. From the moment Gu King had approached until she stopped, her gaze remained on me the whole time, until all four of them fell silent at the same time. Only then did Gu King glance at Nasu Soyan, and that single glance seemed like an absolution to him, and he ran off in a leap. Seeing this, I pulled the corner of my mouth and looked at Gu Kingen. Did you scare Schwan? Who's going to help me pass the time now? And we took the opportunity and said, Randy can keep you company, but there's a swing nearby. Randy likes to sit on swings. Why don't you two go play there for a bit? You decide, okay? I'm going to check on the food. In just an instant, the two had disappeared from sight. Kun-han didn't hurry either. She just stood silently beside me. Sometimes her gaze would fall on me, but seeing that I was distracted by the scenery, she didn't interrupt either. Half an hour later, it was only when Jang Will and the others called for food that I came to my senses and went with Gu Kingan. The ingredients from the property were all raised right there. Even the chicken, duck, and goose had been slaughtered on the spot. The idea was precisely to have everything fresh, and this group had even brought a team of chefs after the meal, as it was already night. The others exchanged glances without saying anything, and left me with Gu King Han. Then the line of cars entered the urban area of Gangchang and gradually dispersed, until finally, only Gu King Han's car remained on the road. She slowed down more and more, wanting that journey to be a little longer and longer. In the end, I couldn't stand it anymore and closed my sleepy eyes. Only then she sped up. When we arrived at the hotel, Ginhan got out of the car, took the bag handed to her by someone who was already waiting at the entrance. I had some hawthorn juice prepared for you, but only drink half. If you drink too much, your stomach might upset. Okay, thank you for your concern, Mrs. Gu. I'll go upstairs then. When you get home, text me to let me know you arrived safely. After saying that, I waved and went into the hotel. Only when my silhouette had completely disappeared from sight did Gu King Han return to the car and drive away. A few days later, in a basement somewhere in Gangchang, horse and we pleas for mercy were heard. The iron door at the entrance to the basement was opened, and the person who was already waiting there handed over the gloves they had prepared. Hangia, we've already asked everything we needed to, and everything they captured has also been cleaned up. How much did they manage to capture? When hearing this, the assistant handed over the phone. They're just some photos of Mr. Shen's daily life. The hotel where he's staying is relatively safe. So this, the staff hadn't had time to infiltrate yet. Kukin took his phone and went through the photos one by one. When she saw my smile in the pictures, her cheeks involuntarily flushed. But when she thought that those photos had been obtained through such underhanded means, Kukinhan's face hardened again. She contained her irritation and deleted the photos one by one, only after making sure there would be no further problems. She asked her assistant, who ordered this? It was the eldest of the grandchildren of the elf family, El Ran. That day when Mr. Shen went to the bar, she happened to be there. This Li Ruyan is the type who cares a lot about appearances, and Mr. Shen's good looks are right there in plain sight. It's normal that she was interested. Gu Kingen lifted her foot and started walking to the room at the end of the corridor and only then retorted, this has nothing to do with Sino's appearance. She ordered them to follow and photograph Shenmo in secret, simply because she's the type who likes to play games with others. Upon reaching the room, Gu Xinghen personally interrogated the people submerged in the water once more, and only after confirming that nothing else was hidden did she remove her gloves and throw them on the floor, ignoring the miserable screams behind her. Gutanon turned and left, send what they did and the evidence along with it. Leave the rest to the people upstairs. By the way, arrange a time for the old man from the little family to come see me. He can't control anyone. I'll handle it for him. The next day, I struggled with the blanket for a long time, but even then I couldn't open my eyes until Shen Kingu called me, and only then did I reluctantly get up. He's still sleeping. It must be noon in the country by now. Yes, I slept too well last night. I didn't want to get up. The people I haven't gone noticed that people were following you these past few days. After receiving this news, I ordered an investigation into who these people were. But 2 days ago, all those people who were following you simply disappeared, and only now have my people received news. They were sent inside. Hearing this, I suddenly opened my eyes. Sister, wasn't it your people who did this? Of course it wasn't me. If it were, I would have told you. Hearing this, I frowned, and while I was thinking, some familiar figures actually appeared in my mind. I waited a moment, but since I didn't say anything, Shen Qingyu immediately noticed something was up and asked directly, do you know who it was? I suspect Gu King Han and Zhang Wei are involved. I had dinner with them a few days ago, but I'm not sure. If they were the ones who acted, why would they help you? Because you're from the Gooding family. I thought for a moment and blurted out in a very confident way. I don't know. Maybe it's because Gu King Han wants to win me over? But why Gu Qinghan and not Jiang Wei? After an awkward silence, Shen Qingyue thought seriously about it and decided it wasn't impossible. This time it was my turn to remain silent, and only after a moment did I speak, perhaps because Gu Qinghan is prettier than Zhang Yu. Gu Qinghan's behavior is unpredictable and complicated, and she's still the current head of the Gu family. An ordinary person simply can't mess with her. Are you sure you want to deal with someone like that? And Shajia, have you really left her behind yet? Shanking thought that, given my behavior, I shouldn't have gotten over Shadia so quickly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have left Jing and gone to Gang. The reason for that would be none other than wanting to escape. To escape until I truly let go of the feelings I still had for Shadia and wouldn't go back out of pity when she showed herself to be fragile. But this shouldn't be resolved by using another person or another relationship to achieve that goal. I understood immediately what Shen Qingyue meant and rolled my eyes. I ended a relationship, but I wasn't shaken like that. And besides, since Shadia did something that hurt me, why should I still have to suffer for it? To lose her, or even hurt an innocent person because of her. The upbringing I received wasn't meant to make me stay tied to an unfaithful woman. I left Jing simply because I wanted to take a walk. If that's going to be connected, Shalaja somehow does. So it's just because I didn't want to give her the chance to keep pursuing and wearing me down, saying things like, did you understand when you heard that? Shen Qingyue should have been relieved because I wouldn't lie to her, homie. But thinking about Gu Qinghan, who had been in contact with me, that tranquility vanished again because, compared to Shujaja, Gu Qinghan was too dangerous. After calming my worried sister once more, I made up the excuse that I was hungry and needed to find something to eat, and hung up. After that, I opened the conversation with J&E and asked about this story of the pursuit, but she said she didn't know either. And then she even called me. It wasn't me, but I think it might have been Hainier. Or even if it wasn't her, she can find out for you. How about asking her? Here's the thing, Handy might be a little busy today, so she might not have time to reply to your message. I happen to be going to look for her, so I can just take you with me to hear it from her. That sentence made sense. If Jinan was busy, would she still have time to talk to me? That's what I thought. So I asked right away, if Gutanan is busy, will she still have time to talk to me? Hearing this, Jiang Wheel slapped her forehead and explained in a weak tone. The hint was too obvious. No matter how busy Randy is, she'll still make time to see you. Will you go? Yes. I pretended I hadn't understood. Okay, but I don't know the way. Then send me the address first. No need to complicate things so much. I'll pick you up. After saying that, she hung up. Half an hour later, Jiang and Wei's car pulled into the old Gu family residence. After parking, there was still a stretch to walk. And along the way, I smelled that sandalwood scent several times. When we arrived in front of the mansion, I saw an elderly gentleman somewhat hunched over standing in the doorway, and beside him, a woman kneeling. My gaze swept over them both. Although I found it strange, I didn't intend to interfere. Zhang Gal stopped before the gentleman and bowed his head. Greeting politely, Mr. Liu. We came looking for Jinan. Yes, I came to speak with Hand, so I'll go in first. Excuse me. Old Lil gave a forced smile, and Zhang Gal replied vaguely. As his gaze swept over his pale face and sweaty forehead, old L nodded and, out of the corner of his eye, saw me side by side with young Wheel, becoming surprised. What family is this young master from? For Jianggu to have brought him to see Guanghun, his identity certainly isn't simple. He was thinking about this, and I didn't even notice the rigid expression of his granddaughter kneeling beside him. When he saw my face freeze, only then did El Rian understand why Gutinan had suddenly decided to attack the El family, but they hadn't only met once. Was it Young Yi who liked him? Or was it Gu Qinggen herself? It's over. I went to compete with Guanghun for a man, but I didn't even get to act. I just had some photos taken. I only wanted to understand the situation. The more Li Ruyan thought, her face growing even paler. She swallowed hard and gently tugged at her grandfather's hem. Grandpa, I think I know why Gu Qinggen decided to act against our family. Wait a moment. I'll go in to let them know. Okay. On the other side, Zhang Yao led me to the entrance of the room and asked me to wait a moment while she went in to let them know. After entering the room, she first greeted the group of important people who were seated, and only then went to Gu Qinghan, lowering her voice to announce, "Quo, ho, I wanted this. Shane Mo, I wanted to see you, so I brought him with me. He's over there at the entrance. Do you want to see him?" Gu Qinghan hadn't paid much attention to Zhang Yao's arrival and was looking down at the documents, but upon hearing this, he slowly raised his head. His gaze swept across the room and landed on the jade screen at the entrance. Then she handed the document to the assistant. That's all for today. You can wrap it up. In the Gu family, Gingin had the final say. It didn't matter what point the meeting was at, nor if the problems had either been solved or not. If Gokinghan said it was over, nobody dared stay even a moment longer. People in the room gradually left. I gave a polite smile, then turned away. When Gokinghan's figure first appeared in my field of vision, she then stopped 2 steps from me, holding back the impulse to approach closer. Mr. Shen, I apologize for making you wait. I shook my head, feeling the others around me, casting curious glances from time to time, but I remained calm and continued talking to Gokinghan. I didn't wait long. I came because I had something to ask you. Gokinghan made an inviting gesture, and I walked over step by step until I passed Ginhan and entered the room. Seeing that Gokinghan had stayed a step behind me among the group preparing to leave, someone couldn't contain their curiosity and asked, in a low voice, "Who is this? If you don't know him and it has nothing to do with your work, don't ask too many questions." I was just curious. Okay, let's go. The person still wanted to retort, but when those hidden, sharp glances fell upon her, she only thought about getting out of there quickly. The group at the entrance dispersed rapidly, and the enormous room was left only with Gokinghan, me, and Jangalo, who was already sitting sideways. Seeing Gokinghan walking behind me, Jangal gave her an amused look, then yawned and shuffled out. I'm still sleepy. I'm going back to sleep a little more. After Jangwil left, Gokinghan turned and went towards the other door. Come with me. The room is for receiving outside guests. I'll take you to the tea room. I just came to confirm something with you. It doesn't need to be so much work. I intended to leave as soon as I asked, but the way Ginkan was, she didn't seem to want to let me leave so soon. And as expected, the next instant I saw her excuse. It's not much work. At least let me receive my guest properly. We continued on our way in silence. We walked all the way through a small garden and into the tea room next door. Gokinghan gestured for me to sit down and only then asked what tea I wanted. I replied that any would do and sat facing her, watching her hands skillfully begin to warm the cup and separate the leaves, which made me realize she did this so frequently, and the blue and white porcelain cup swirling between her fingers. It was another kind of beauty to behold. Observing the scene, I wasn't in a hurry anymore. I rested my head on my hand and watched with interest as she calmly prepared the tea and finally served the result. Seeing that I liked it, Gusinan smiled and waited for me to finish drinking before serving me again. Why did you come looking for me? Okun wanted to ask if you were the one who solved the problem with those people who were following me. Of course, I'm only asking because among the people I know in Gangchang, the only ones I have the most contact with and who have that power are you and Jangwil. I already asked Jangwil, and she said it wasn't her. That's why I came to ask. It was me. When you came in a little while ago, did you see the person kneeling at the door? That's who ordered you to be followed and photographed secretly. Don't worry. I sent all those people inside. Seeing that my expression turned strange upon hearing the word photograph, Gutenal added, "And I've already cleaned up all those photos of your daily life. You don't need to worry. I thanked you first, but I knew that thank you was too mild, so I also made a promise. If you need anything I can do, I will certainly do it." Gushan nodded, and then revealed her true intention. Have you had lunch yet? Not yet. Actually, I just woke up an hour and a half ago. Coincidentally, the food at home just finished cooking. Shall we go, Mr. Shen? The words Mr. Shen came out of her mouth in a tone that was difficult to explain. I followed her steps and, without realizing it, raised my hand to touch my warm ears. Actually, you can call me by my name or Shamo. My family and friends call me that. Hearing this, Gushan stopped walking, and then simply stood there staring intently at me. Soon after, she launched her attack and called me Xiao, and I couldn't resist. Her voice, with that enchanting touch, defeated me instantly. Only after she started walking again did I press my chest because of my racing heart. When we arrived at the dining room, there were already 4 or 5 plates on the table. During the meal, we hardly spoke, but just by my expression, you could see how much I had enjoyed it. And when Aunt Elle came, she was collecting the plates and still complimenting me. You boy, do you really eat well? Thank you, Aunt Lee. It's very tasty. As tasty as my mother's food. Next time you come, talk to Kenan first. What do you like to eat? So she can tell me and I'll make it for you. Aunt Lai, thank you so much. Chemo. She nodded properly and thanked her again with a sweet smile. But when Aunt Lee left satisfied and smiling, Gutinhan suddenly attacked. You called. Have you thought about when the next time will be? Hearing this, I raised my head in surprise and met Gukingan's gaze smiling without smiling. What do you mean? You're so excited now. I'm just afraid of disappointing Aunt Lei. Whether Aunt Lee will be disappointed or not doesn't depend on me, it depends on you. If President Gu invites me, I'll come. Hearing this, Gu Kingan's eyes lit up and she asked, testing, then, come every day. Mhogera. I raised an eyebrow and then shook my head, ignoring a certain person's disappointed expression. I wiped my mouth and said I'd eaten enough. Thank you for the welcome, President Gu. I'm going now. Goodbye, President Gu. But although Gu Qinghan had also said goodbye, her body followed on its own, wanting to take me back. If you're busy, I can take a taxi myself. She stood in front of me, leaning awkwardly. I'm busy, but I want to take you anyway. If I don't try hard enough, and you refuse me again, I'll be embarrassed. Hearing this, I pulled the corner of my mouth and gave her a thumbs up. President Gu is really determined, so good luck. All the way back, Ginhan kept thinking about it. Good luck. What do you mean, good luck? How do I try to make Shen want to come to dinner here every day? Or being even more greedy to get him to stay by my side every day, all the time? When she returned to the old Gu family residence, she saw that Aunt Elle, who should already be resting, was still sitting on the sofa. Aunt Lee, why haven't you gone to rest yet? Aunt Lee stood up and looked at Gu Qinggan affectionately. I was waiting for you. That boy from today is the person you like. Hearing this, Gu Qinggan's expression softened, and she sensed it. And he likes you, with your manner. Since you were little, you've never had a boy after you, Qinggan. Since you like him, you have to treat him properly. When he comes to ask for your hand another day, you have to remember to take the things your mother left her for her son-in-law. Seeing Aunt Lee speak further and further away, Gu Qinggan quickly interrupted her. Aunt Lee, I don't even know yet if he'll like me. You're talking about this too soon. As soon as she heard this, Aunt Lee's hopeful fantasies crumbled instantly. She gave Gu Qinggan a disapproving look. You're so clumsy. He came to Gancheng just for maybe he'll leave soon. So what? If he doesn't take the initiative, can't you? Go after him. After you succeed, you can even make him live in gang. That's not how you talk. Kukan massaged her forehead, because Young had said something similar before, as if everyone took it for granted. That if we stayed together, I would have to give up my life to stay in Yangcheng, but that wouldn't be fair to me. Neither of us is an accessory to the other. We are free people who can go wherever we want. First, Shemo is free, he stays wherever he wants. And if in the future he doesn't want to live in Gangcheng, and frowned, a little surprised because Gu Qinghan, who had always been so unreasonable, seemed like a different person when it came to me. Gu Qinghan practically didn't hesitate, and so wherever he is, I'll go to him. So, try to make him like you soon. Otherwise, when you go after him, he might not even want to see you. This kind of feeling doesn't follow logic. Since you liked it, don't think about men or women. Go after it without fear. Gu Qinghan agreed, but inside she thought I had just gotten out of a relationship, so it was better not to rush things, and chasing after the person she loved had been for Gu Qinggan since birth the hardest thing she had ever faced him. The next day, I returned to the hotel with the snacks well packaged. As soon as I reached the floor, I saw my room door wide open, and there were still several strangers at the door, men and women, but I didn't know any of them at that moment. A male voice came from inside the room. Hurry up and clean everything up in there. My friend will be here soon. But I didn't go there. Instead, I called Shentin, and there were many people on the other end, and I wasn't stupid enough to go argue with them alone. After receiving confirmation from Shane King Yui, I hung up and was about to leave. Suddenly, an employee emerging from the room saw me immediately and, with a smile, acknowledged my presence. Senator Shen, you're back. As soon as he said that, the people inside and outside the room immediately turned their eyes to me just as I had lifted my foot. At that instant, instead of stopping, I quickened my pace, but clearly they didn't intend to let me leave. The people at the door rushed and blocked me. At the same time, the man inside the room slowly left. After looking me up and down, I gave a mocking laugh. Fleeing? Why? I'm gonna use this room. So take your trash and get out. This room was the best in the hotel, and Linchuan used to use it to receive guests. Not many people could stay here for very long in the past, so it was usually empty. But for Linchuan, even if someone was staying there, it didn't make a difference. It was just some extra with a little money. In Guncheng's case, it wouldn't even be good enough to polish his shoes. Hearing this, I also gave a mocking laugh. I looked at the watch on his hand, and recon with even more contempt. So why are you holding my trash? He didn't expect me to talk like that. And Lin Luan's face froze. What are you talking about? I don't understand. You don't understand, guys. No problem. I'll explain. This Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar Watch Chronograph FF1518 was auctioned off a year ago at an elite auction in Country F for $350 million. And the one who won the watch was a businessman from China, surnamed Shen. At that moment, even without knowing if I was telling the truth, upon hearing the price of the watch, the first thought that arose in Lin Luan's heart was not prudence or fear, but greed worth $350 million. It's no wonder I liked it at first sight. He raised his hand and looked at the watch, his thoughts swirling in his mind, and soon made a decision. I don't know what you're talking about, but this watch has always been mine. Throw this guy and all his trash out into Gangsheng. I'm in charge. Now the watch is with me, so it's mine to then look. No matter who comes to ask. I touched the object I was hiding in my pocket, thinking about how to get out of there. But before I needed to act, the elevator door behind us opened with a ding. The next instant, a tall woman stepped out quickly with more than 10 security guards. I looked back and recognized the person immediately. Lin Luo, head of the Shen family branch in Gangcheng, and also Shen Tinggui's representative there. Sister Louie, I'm here. Seeing that just like in the photo, I was incredibly handsome. Lin Louie was impressed again. She ran to my side and without saying anything examined me from head to toe. Only after seeing that I wasn't injured did she breathe a sigh of relief. Don't worry, I wasn't hurt, and they didn't even have time to start. It was a close call. And Alan Luan, since Lin El appeared, kept his eyes glued to her the whole time, but when he saw that the first thing she did upon arriving was to worry about me, his face immediately hardened. Lin Lo, what are you doing here? What's your relationship with him? Only then, hearing the voice, did Lin Lo turn her head, but she never imagined that the danger I had encountered would be connected precisely to Lin Lua. So it was you? It's me. So what? You are just the forsaken daughter of the Lin family. Don't think that, because you showed up, anything will change. I'm telling you, Lin Lo. It doesn't matter if it's you or that guy. With one word from me, you two will leave here in disgrace, sis. To tell the truth, Lin Lo and Lin Luan hadn't seen each other for a long time, but no matter how much time passed, her half-brother continued to be so stupid as to cloud her vision. Then she went to Lin Lukchuan and, seeing his astonished look, raised her hand and brought it down forcefully with a dry snap. Lin Luan's head turned to the side, and his face swelled and turned red instantly. Lin Lu shook her hand, which had gone numb from hitting him so much. That slap is just the initial interest. Lin Luan. Not everyone is someone you can offend. Only after she finished speaking did Lin Luan realize he had been slapped. Seeing this, he held his face and began to yell. Who gave you the nerve to raise your hand to me? You're finished. But Lin El only looked with disdain at Lin Luan coming towards him and being stopped by the security guards he had brought. Sister Loey, maybe I need you to take 2 steps to the side? My voice suddenly interrupted their argument. Lin Lo turned his head and only then saw me recording with my cell phone. Lin Luan, who also noticed what I was doing, instinctively hid his hand behind his body. It's pointless to hide. I've recorded everything, and each of your faces. After that, I lowered my head and sent the video to Shen King Yu. And I continued talking. In my room, there wasn't just that valuable watch. There's a lot of things of the same level. If a piece is missing or broken, you'll have to pay, okay? Just now, since I was outnumbered, I was as cautious as possible. But now, I've gone past Lin Lua and entered my room, although I was already prepared when I saw my things scattered in chaos on the floor, and there were even pieces of a broken jade bracelet. House. My heart ached so much it stopped. It was Imperial Green Victoria Jadeite. I kept grabbing my phone to record video until I confirmed that the only piece actually damaged was that bracelet. Only then did I relax a little. Then I looked at the people Lin El had brought in, at Lin Lua Xuan barred at the door. You're the one who's finished here. Lin Lu's face also turned ugly. She hadn't imagined Lin Luan could be this stupid. Chamo, there's a lot of damaged stuff. Quite a lot. A few billion. Hearing that amount, Lin El's mouth dropped open in surprise. Lin Luan was first in shock and then yelled, "What nonsense are you talking about? How could you walk around with so much valuable stuff?" Although he said that inside, Lin Luan was already extremely uneasy. Sure, too bad I didn't even look at him this time. I turned around and sat on the sofa. When the police arrive, then you can talk to me properly. What do you mean? You called the police. Hearing this, Lin Luan wanted to burst into the room, but was stopped by Lin Lo's security guards. Lin Lo tells his people to get out of the way. You better not mess things up again. Are you threatening me? I'm telling you. In Gangsheng isn't someone who just calls the police and solves things. Shen, even if you're a dragon, you're going to have to deal with this. Hearing this, I glanced at him sideways and replied with just an A. He still wanted to say something else, but saw me answer the phone and move aside, not giving him a chance to speak. I tried saying hello, and hearing my voice still normal, Guden Han's tight heart finally relaxed. The police are already there, and I'm coming too. Don't worry, I don't mind. How did Ginhan know I was in trouble? I only knew that after something happened to me, she was rushing over here. Thinking about it, my mood has actually improved quite a bit. She's almost here. Do you care about me that much? Of course. You're my only important guest. If I don't care about you, who will I care about? You're only one. Yes, only you. On the other end of the line, Shinahan was silent for a moment and then replied firmly. And in the future too. Yusin stopped at the hotel entrance, raising his head to look at the building ahead. He took a deep breath and thought that only with you did it make sense to imagine a future. Kem, I'm here. Hearing that, I shuddered with embarrassment and then laughed looking at the number on my cell phone. Then I'll be waiting for you, Kinhan. At the same time, at the door, Lin Luan was still yelling, non-stop. Lin Li, why are you helping him so much? What do you gain by turning this into a bigger problem? And on top of that, you're helping a stranger. Aren't you afraid I'll tell Dad everything? Lin Lu remained expressionless and unfazed. Seeing this, Lin Luoxuan's face turned red with anger. He grabbed his cell phone and began to threaten. I'm gonna call Dad right now. This was the threat that had scared Lin Luwei the most in the past. But now she just stood in front of my door without even calling. Then, Lin Luan completed the call. Dad, my sister, and a man are intimidating me. On the other end of the line, Father Lin frowned. Those bastards. Make her answer. He didn't even ask anything. Just because Lin Luoxuan complained, Father Lin already decided it was Lin Lui's fault. Hearing this, Lin Luan smiled victoriously at Lin Laoi. He switched on speakerphone, offering the phone. Dad wants to talk to you. Lin Loei lowered her gaze to the phone in front of her. Even knowing that she was someone abandoned by the Lin family, hearing her father's voice, her heart still felt uneasy. And when she hesitated whether to raise her hand or not, my hand suddenly reached out. Who's speaking there? And who are you? When hearing the voice of an unknown person, Father Lin furrowed his brow, and with impatience ordered, Who are you? Get the phone over to Lin Luo right away. What reason would I have to obey you? Why should I? Don't you understand? People, why? Who do you think you are? To ask that in front of me? Who do I think I am? Then it's over for you. Because from now on, I think I'll be indebted to your Lin family. Hearing this, Father Lin was stunned, and suddenly had a bad feeling. I had no intention of explaining, so I hung up immediately and threw the phone back to Lin Luan. Watching him catch the device rather clumsily, I raised an eyebrow and a small smile played on my lips. The instant the elevator door opened, that's how Gu Kingen saw me. Her heart seemed to have been struck off forcefully by something. She stared at me intently, without thinking, and approached step by step purely by instinct, until I realized she had arrived. At that moment, the smile on my face grew even wider, and I even gestured beckoning her with my hand as if the owner were calling his own puppy. But strangely, Ginhan didn't feel any rejection. In fact, she even quickened her pace. Of everyone present, only Ginhan and I were smiling. Everyone else's expression had changed. Keenan didn't even look away and went straight to my side. What outcome do you want for this case? Money and an apology? But you don't need to act for me. I'll handle it myself, okay? I'll listen to you. The woman's gentle manner made Lin L. Zhao doubt her own eyes. And it wasn't just her. Even Lin Luoxuan, who from the moment Gu Kingen appeared had already weakened to the point of almost falling, had her eyes wide open. If I had known I was connected to Guking Hunan, not even with 10,000 bursts of courage would he have dared to touch me. While I was thinking this, Lin Luoxuan took the watch with trembling hands and returned it to me, trying to ease our tension. Senor Shen, the watch is back here. As for what happened today, do you think we can let it go? Letting it go is a little difficult. Maybe you, being from Gangcheng, don't know me, but those who know me know that I'm the type to hold grudges. As I spoke, I took the watch from Lin Luoxuan's hand, held it with two disgusted fingers, and shook it. Then I threw it back into his hand. Besides, I don't want anything dirty. Hearing this, Lin Luoxuan's face turned white instantly. He tried to explain himself, but looking at Gu Gingan's icy gaze, he was so afraid that he didn't dare say anything. Soon the police arrived, and I directly handed the video from my cell phone to the team leader. After they inspected the premises and checked the hotel security cameras, the manager gave the order. Mr. Lin, you and your staff will have to accompany us. Lin Luoxuan, his face pale, clutched his cell phone. He hesitated for a while, but finally called his father. After cooperating with the police and finishing giving his statement, I left with Lin Loey. Lin Loey didn't hesitate either and smiled immediately. Mr. Shen, Sister Lu, and my sister are close, so you can call me Shane Mo. Smo, where do you want to stay now? A place like a hotel on the one hand is safe, on the other, not so much. Anyone with a certain status always finds a way to steal things there. Is the house my sister set aside for me ready yet? It's ready. Then I'll move straight there. As I said this, I turned to Gookingen. Are you busy right now? But Gookingen wasn't really idle. She just thought that, at that moment, the most important thing was to get me settled in. It wasn't her who didn't come with me. Actually, Lin Loey had rushed over there, leaving business partners behind. Now, seeing that Gookingen was with me, she also calmed down, said goodbye, and ran off again. After Linel left, Gina Ano suddenly said, Linel works for the Hongzhan Group now. I know about Senti, and I didn't say anything more. Seeing that I had no intention of explaining, Gookingen didn't insist either, and just pointed to the car. Come on, I'll help you move. Will you carry your things yourself? Is that a problem? You're the great President Goddard, and you're even going to help me move. Isn't that too much for such a simple task? 2 hours later, Shangi Dijin, the largest and most luxurious villa complex in Gangcheng. When I followed the house number that Lin Loey sent me and found the residence, Gookingen stopped for a moment. Is the house my sister set aside for me already finished? It's already finished, so I'll move straight there. As I said this, I turned my face to Gookingen. Are you busy right now? But Gingen wasn't really without anything to do. She just thought that at that moment, the most important thing was to get me settled in. It wasn't her who didn't accompany me. In fact, Linel had left business partners and rushed here in a hurry. Since Gingen was now with me, she was also relieved, said goodbye, and ran off once more. After Lin Lo left, Ging Quonan suddenly said, Linel works for the Hongzhan Group today. I know, I feel it, and I just didn't say anything else. Seeing that I had no intention of explaining, Gookingen didn't insist either, and just pointed to the car. Come on, I'll help you move. You'll carry your things yourself. Is there a problem? You're the great President Goddard. Helping me move might be too much for such a simple task. 2 hours later, Shanghai Dijin, the largest and most luxurious villa complex in Gangcheng. When I followed the house number Lin Loey sent me and found the residence, Gookingen paused for a moment. I noticed and casually asked, What's wrong? What's wrong? If I told you the house next door is mine, would you believe me? What a coincidence, right? So I hope to count on you from now on, new neighbor. As I said this, I extended my hand to Gookingen. Gookingen reacted quickly and responded immediately. I also count on Mr. Shen's care. And when she let go of my hand, she still lightly brushed my palm secretly. On the other side, Lin Luan never imagined that, even after Father Lin had already used his contacts upstairs, he still wouldn't be able to leave. Furthermore, after the lawyer understood the cause and effect of the situation, the only solution he found was a private agreement, but on the condition that I agree. After I refused several requests from the other party's lawyer to meet, 3 days later, I received a call from my own lawyer, and when I arrived at the location, everyone in the room was already waiting impatiently. Father Lin remained seated without moving, his face filled with contempt, and didn't even wait for me to sit down before rushing me over. Just tell me, how much do you want to leave my son alone? Hearing this, I first went to the main seat in the center and sat down. Then I slowly drank a whole cup of tea before answering. 10 billion. Senator Shen, you're talking too much. I leaned back, took the photos the lawyer next to me had handed me, and threw them in front of Father Lin. You're the one who thinks it's too little. If you can't even get 10 billion, then you're acting like a rich man in front of me. Why? Do you know how much the watch your son stole costs? Do you know how much the jade bracelet he broke is worth? Do you know how much the things I lost are worth? I only lowered those 10 billion out of consideration for Sister Lee. And because you're her biological father, it's not that Father Lin had never seen these photos. He just hadn't taken it seriously before. Now, however, he was forced to pick up the appraisal reports from the table to look at them, and the more he looked, the worse his expression became. In the end, Father Lin even crumpled the whole pile of reports in his hand, thinking about what Lin Luan had told him. He began to argue. It's impossible you lost so much. My son only took one of your watches, and only broke Jad's bracelet. Who said that? The things are mine. I'll tell you how many are missing. Don't forget that my items have an entry record at the airport. Now that they haven't been found, I can only hold Mr. Lin responsible, who entered illegally. Of course, If Mr. Lin has proof that he didn't take them, I'll take the loss. But Father Lin knew that Lin Luan had no way to prove it. Breaking in was a fact. Ransacking, breaking, and even taking his things was also a fact. But even if he had 10 billion, he wouldn't spend that on Lin Luan. After several deep breaths, Father Lin finally forced a sycophantic smile. How about Mr. Shen then saying how he wants to resolve this, Aylin? Louvre and his daughter, hearing this, Father Lin's heart sank. Indeed. I've heard that Mr. Shen and she have a good relationship.
Very good one.
At that moment, Father Lin let out a relieved breath, ran a hand over his face, and then tried to create intimacy, Since in the end we are all from the same family, how about Mr. Shane, in consideration of Luave, letting Luxuan get out of this? After he said that, no one there expected that I would actually feel it, not even Father Lin himself, who widened his mouth in disbelief. But the next second I tapped my fingers on the table and added, in consideration of Sister Lua. If you transfer to her the shares that her mother left, I'll give them to Sister Lu Sensiwei and cut the value in half. I'll also withdraw the complaint and let your little son get out of this. Impossible. That's 10% of the Lin Group shares. Old man, I think you misunderstood something. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm warning you. Either you accept my conditions and close the deal, or Lin Lin comes into my hands permanently. Of course, I know that Lin Luan alone isn't enough as a bargaining chip, so maybe adding up all the cooperation between Hong Sheng and your Lin family. This sentence hit Father Lin like a heavy hammer. He was stunned for a long time before coming to his senses. What exactly does that mean? When you forced Sister Lua Alway to cooperate, you didn't think this day would come, did you? Nowadays, half of your Lin family's projects are financed by Hong Sheng. Have you ever thought that if Hong Sheng withdraws its investments, all the resources the Lin family has already put into them will be wasted, all in vain? I think you've thought about that. That you didn't believe Sister Lua Alway would do that to the Lin family. After all, the Lin family is her mother's life's work. And in her view, Sister Lua Alway is nothing more than a woman who works for Hong Sheng. She doesn't represent Hong Sheng, and however capable she may be, what storm could she possibly raise? Especially since these projects are actually generating profit for Hong Sheng. So why would Hong Sheng care? Actually, you weren't entirely wrong. Sister Loey really wouldn't trample on her mother's legacy. But I'm different. What the hell does the Lin family have to do with me? In the worst case scenario, if your Lin family falls, then my wrong saying simply supports the other Lin family. Anyway, Lin. Leoui is also called Lin. I didn't even look at Lin Fu, who stood up furiously and calmly poured me another cup of tea. Who are you, anyway? I told you a long time ago, didn't I? I'm your family's biggest creditor, Ling. And aren't you afraid that my Lin family will drag Hong Sheng down with them? Hearing that, I burst out laughing immediately. Why would I be afraid? If Hong Sheng messes with your Lin family, at most, she'll lose a finger. Do you think I'd care? Actually, I didn't even need to say it. Father Lin understood this logic too. He had previously forced Lin Loey to cooperate with the Lin family. He gambled on the fact that Rongsheng's headquarters were thousands of kilometers away, and that as long as the cooperation problems weren't major, Hongsheng wouldn't even notice what was happening there. But he never imagined I would show up, much less that I would defend Lin Loey. Thinking about it, he almost fell out of his chair. After a moment, Father Lin leaned on the table and stood up with difficulty. He thought he could abandon Lin Luozuan, but he couldn't abandon the Lin family. So he lowered his head obediently. As soon as I get back, I'll have Lu Wei come and sign the share transfer contract. Ducked. I ask that you raise your hand and have mercy. Leave Luan and the Lin family in peace. One thing is one thing. My compensation cannot be lacking. Father Lin almost spat blood from rage, but could only manage a forced smile and a smug look. After I made a dismissive gesture with my hand, I watched the pylon turn stiffly and walk away, his movements frozen. Finally, I let out a cold laugh. I took my phone and said, "Hello, sister, is it solved?" On the other end of the line, Shantin Yui only responded with a very neutral hum. I was about to hang up when I suddenly remembered something and asked again, "Sister, do you care so much about Sister Lu Wei? Is there something you're hiding from me?" After a long time without an answer from Shenin, I called again, "Sister." And the next instant, my older sister started stalling. And that excuse only made me even more certain that those two had something going on. Hearing the ding-dong of the hastily disconnected call, I pouted and got up to leave the private room, but when I reached the door, I ran into someone unexpected. Before I could even avoid it, the other person came straight towards me. Wow, so it really is you? You're really in gang? No wonder Xia can't find you at all. Luanan patted my shoulder intimately. I first stopped his gesture, and then I pushed him away. Otherwise, still have things to do. Ooh, I'm going. Hey, don't do that, Sheem. Even if you fought with Shia, we're still, friends, aren't we? Friends? Hearing this, I stared intently at him. Friends, so when you just gave my address to X on that day, it was also because we're friends. Don't think I didn't see. She was typing like crazy a moment ago. I don't even need to think hard to know who she was texting. Shanmo, you misunderstood. I was just thinking that maybe there was some misunderstanding between you and Shadi, and I wanted you two to talk. Besides Shen M, don't take this the wrong way, but in our circle, who is truly pure? Shadi has been saving herself for you for so many years. That's more than enough. And in the end, nothing really happened between her and that Luli either. So why do you need to disappear like this? Do you have any idea how worried she's been these past few days? Now she's lost so much weight that even I find it hard to look at her. The more Luan spoke, the more justified he became. Hearing that, I gave a cold laugh. You're Xia's father. Is that how much you're supposed to defend her? Will she? Are you still going to have to kneel by your bed to clean up your mess and give you a potty? How can you speak so rudely? Oof. And you think you speak nicely? At least I'm talking like a human being. You open your mouth and it sounds like you're farting. You stink so much it makes you want to vomit. And this, our circle, who's pure, that's your circle, not mine. You're dirty on your own, and you still want others to be the same. Trash belongs in the trash can. So stay away from me, I'm noble. Don't touch me. After saying that, I turned my back and laughed. And behind me, Luonin got so angry that his eyes widened, pointing a finger at my back as I left with a bunch of curses stuck in my throat, but I simply didn't give him any chance. In the end, he took a deep breath and continued replying to Pseudo de Ashia's messages. On one side, Luan deliberately exposed my whereabouts. On the other, those who had received them, the order to ensure my safety, was Young Wheel, and she was loving it. Her face was beaming with excitement. She cut a snippet of audio from the hallway camera and sent it to the group. Then she added a bunch of thumbs-up stickers. I, Jungwei, have never admired anyone in this life, but Shenmo's mouth, I truly admire it. But not even a minute after sending it, Xiaoyan quickly realized who the person mentioned in the audio was. Upon seeing this, Jiang Wei froze instantly and she rushed to type and... Delete it now, Xuan. Although she didn't understand, she deleted it immediately, but just then, Gukinghan opened the group messages and saw the scene. I saw. Now Youngwheel could only give up on deleting the file and try to laugh to disguise it. At that moment, Zhouyan also realized she had messed up, so she rushed to try to remedy it. That's right. Sister Han, with Shen Mo's temperament, how could he let anyone make him suffer? The messages of the group continued to scroll up relentlessly, but King Han didn't say anything more. Yan, we immediately sensed that something was wrong, so she went straight to King Han's profile and started sending private messages. But she typed a lot and King Han didn't reply. Sitting in the monitoring room, the woman's expression darkened to the point where she wanted to slap herself immediately. It must be that my hand is cursed. Why on earth did I send that audio clip about Shenum to the group chat? At that moment, Jianwei deeply regretted it. Meanwhile, in the office, King Han opened the file, repeatedly hearing the name I mentioned, and became completely distraught. Not distraught. Chao Diadia. King Han repeated that name in a low voice, while her fingers tapped incessantly on the table. She had the feeling she knew that name from somewhere. Furthermore, what bothered King Han most was the identity of that person, that is, my ex-girlfriend. But even if it was her, that already made her extremely uncomfortable. And what bothered her even more was that she didn't even have the right to be jealous of that past relationship. She opened my profile and stared at our chat window for a long time. Finally, she sighed. Have I finished all the work? And you still haven't thought about me? She grumbled inwardly. But the next second, a new notification appeared in our chat. You poked Shenum's clever little head, Ed. Intimacy again. She stared at the message and panicked, wanting to delete it, but my message had already arrived. Now, unintentionally, it became the subject. Goosenhan slowly exhaled. I wanted to ask if you finished taking care of yourself without any other possible excuse. Guingin could only pull out social etiquette as justification. I looked at the message and provoked her on purpose. She was very direct, and I could imagine Gukingen saying that with her usual expression, Weifu. Then I checked the time and typed again. Really? So how much did you miss me? Upon seeing this sentence, Gukingen took a long time to respond, with a serious face, frowning as she thought about the question and didn't even notice the assistant knocking. The door remained open for quite some time. When she came to her senses, she finally told the person to come in. The assistant opened the door, ready to report the rest of the day's agenda, but was interrupted by Gukingan. Now I need to consult you about something. She was sitting upright, with a more serious expression than ever, so much so that the assistant thought something very serious had happened. After organizing her words, Gukinghan continued, just suppose you tell the person you like that you want to see them, and then they ask how much at this time. What do you answer, President Gu? It was Mr. Shen who asked you that, wasn't it? I thought it was something much more serious. You even looked so solemn. Who would have thought that our President Gu also knows how to say she wants to see someone? Hurry up. Stop talking nonsense. Okay, President Gu. I think Mr. Shen, I didn't say it was Shenmo. After an awkward silence, Gwynn simply decided to drop the pose and continued, speaking, The assistant coughed lightly and only then stifled a laugh that almost escaped. Before seriously analyzing it, based on my vast battle experience, I think Mr. Shen asked you that question because he knows you'd be embarrassed to answer and was just teasing you on purpose. Hearing this, Ginghan pouted and was immediately a little disappointed. She had thought I was probing her feelings. So my guess was just a joke? It's quite likely. But if President Gu really is having doubts, why not simply ask Mr. Shen directly? In a relationship, assumptions are the worst. If you have doubts, it's best to speak openly. After the issue is on the table, if it's possible to talk. If it doesn't work out, each goes their own way. That way, there's no regret. That last sentence. The assistant had only said it in passing, but Ginghan kept it in her heart, thinking about it so much that she didn't even notice when the assistant left. On the other hand, at first, I didn't get a reply from Ginghan and I was even a little confused. But when I got home and picked up my phone, I saw the message Ginghan had sent. I missed him so much. It was 4 very simple words. While typing the reply, I climbed onto the sofa and sat cross-legged, acting charming. He thought for so long. To give me only 4 words? I lost out. Upon seeing the last 2 words, Gukinan pulled into the garage and, while driving, wondered if my sentence didn't hide another meaning. A moment later, he replied, Then I'll make it up to you. Reading that, my heart even wavered a little, but I didn't reply anymore. I put down my phone and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. A few minutes later, I picked up my phone and was going downstairs to get something to eat, when, at that moment, Ginan suddenly called me, standing outside his house. I ran downstairs with the phone in my hand. I opened the door and saw the person standing there. It seemed like she had just come from the office, her face slightly flushed and still, breathing a little heavily, seeing that I was staring at her without trying to hide it. Gukingen reflexively stepped forward. I bought some typical gangchang snacks to make up for it. Let me go inside first to show you what I brought outside. The wind is a bit strong. She had barely finished speaking when I had already made room for her to enter. At home, we only have disposable slippers. You'll have to make do with that for now. As I spoke, I took a pair of disposable slippers from the top cupboard. Seeing that I hadn't been bothered by the sudden visit, she felt her whole body lighten. That egg waffle shop is an old gangchang brand. It's sweet without being cloying, crispy and soft at the same time. Try it. And there's also this roast duck and these fried skewers. Coincidentally, I haven't eaten anything yet either. Thanks. Then, when we reached the dining table and were about to start eating, I suddenly interrupted her. Wait a moment. Do you drink? Yes. What kind of drink? Fruit liqueur. I brought some from Jincheng. But her attention wasn't on the alcohol, but on the name of the place. It was the first time I'd mentioned where I was from. Gutengan's eyes lit up immediately. She thought that mentioning Jincheng meant I was starting to open up to her. The more she thought about it, the more excited she became, but outwardly she hid it very well. I soon returned with a sealed jar of wine in my arms and sat at the table. I learned to make this from my grandmother. When I played in the countryside, it's blackberry wine. It's very tasty. You're in luck today. As soon as I finished speaking, I skillfully pulled the cork and in the next instant, a strong aroma of wine filled the air. When I filled the glass and handed it to her, she hesitated a little. Do you drink? When I'm at home, my family keeps an eye on me and I can only have a small glass. Now that we have a chance, have a drink with me. No, that's not it. I'm just worried you'll end up drunk. Cutanen had a very good tolerance for alcohol, so she wasn't worried about herself. The problem was that she was good at judging people and thought my tolerance must be terrible. I confidently assured her and raised my glass first. It's okay. I don't get drunk. Cutanen had no choice. She could only toast with me indulgently and join me in eating and drinking. An hour later, the third glass of wine in my hand also dried up, seeing that I was about to reach for the wine glass. Kemo, don't drink anymore. If you continue, you'll get drunk with your face completely red. I emphasized again. What are you muttering about? How could I get drunk? The more I drank, the more lucid I become. After saying that, I grabbed Gugingen's hand, which was blocking my way, and started pulling forcefully. Why wouldn't she move out of the way? I had clearly used force. Oh, this hand is quite beautiful. I kept looking at it, and then I extended my index finger, lightly landing on the back of Gwynhan's hand, laughed. And under her astonished and shocked gaze, I began to trace the knuckles of her fingers. She asked in a low voice, "What? Are you drunk?" I wanted to take advantage of my distraction to pull her hand back, but my eyes were too sharp, and I grabbed it immediately. Then I gave her an impatient look. "Don't move, let me see." Hearing this, Guggenham took a deep breath, feeling her forehead throb. That was it. No need to ask anymore. This person was drunk, no doubt about it. Wasn't she the one who said she could drink well? Only 3 glasses. Thinking about this, she let out a startled sigh and tried to pull her hand back, but realized she couldn't. Clearly I, drunk, was still protecting myself against her. While I laughed at her, I pulled Guggenhan's hand close to my face and lowered my head to rub my face against the back of her hand. Goosing Cannon? I like this. Seeing my reaction, Guggenhan's breathing became heavier. She let me touch her hand while she herself lowered her head and drank silently. Shortly after, I opened my mouth again and ordered, "Change hands." This one was too— I didn't. Guggenhan then obeyed and offered me the other. I carefully felt it, and after confirming that it was also to my liking, I let go. Ginhan, this one isn't hot either. Hey, as soon as I saw that, the person who was still trying to maintain some composure had their cheeks flush red instantly. They exhaled slowly, looking at me, who was engrossed in playing with their hand, and suddenly even felt relieved that my attention wasn't focused on their face. But the next instant, my gaze, previously fixed on their hand, lifted and remained fixed on them without blinking. Guggenhan, your face is so red, you must have gotten drunk. Hearing this, Gina and him reflexively covered their face with their other hand. Shimon, do you actually want to see who's really drunk? My eyes lit up. What did you say? Look, is there anything better than that? Faced with Gukkingen's astonished look, I stood up, and the next second I was standing right in front of them. At that moment, Gukkingen first stiffened her body and held her breath, but seeing my blurry gaze, she gradually loosened her grip and began to silently savor the scent of my body. I only had to move forward a little, and I would touch the tip of her nose. For a moment, she really wanted to lean forward. Luckily, she regained her composure in time, but I grew bolder and bolder, caressing her body until I touched her earlobe. The exact second my hand touched there, Gukkingen almost lost control, clenching her teeth. She turned her face away to escape my breath and awkwardly tried to convince me. What? Stop playing around. Okay. What? I can't hear you. Did you hear me? Yes. I didn't hear you. I stared at her on purpose with a fierce look. And when Gukkingen thought I was going to get angry, she discovered that my gaze was beginning to descend from the tip of her nose, then her lips, and continuing down until it finally stopped there. Gutanan was so startled by my gaze that she jumped and stood up as fast as she could. Kimo, don't do anything stupid. I looked completely bewildered. I scratched my head. Afraid of what? I'm not afraid. I wasn't going to take advantage of you. Besides, wasn't it you who told me to look a moment ago? While talking, mid-sentence, Jinan suddenly realized he'd unexpectedly indeed mentioned the word look. You heard wrong. That wasn't the meaning. But as soon as she finished speaking, my expression changed, and I looked completely wronged. Gutnan couldn't stand seeing me like that, seeing that I could barely stand, and her heart tightened with fright. After a moment, she gave in and came to me. You can look, but there are certain places you can't touch. It's my fault. Who told me to try to argue logic with a drunk? Seeing that she had given in, I patted Gutnan on the shoulder with satisfaction. Guggenhan, I want to sleep. Hearing this, Guggenham froze in place. Sleep? What's that like? Washing your face, brushing your teeth, then lying in bed, closing your eyes and sleeping. Sometime later, Gukkingen came after me and accompanied me upstairs, going straight into the guest room. When she followed me and went in, she saw me holding a new toothbrush and smiling at her. While I was talking, I also found a face towel and a bath towel, and stuffed everything into her hand. Then I left satisfied. Gukkingen's arms were full of still sealed things, and she couldn't even describe what she felt. Thinking about it, she suddenly realized that she might spend her whole life falling into my hands. Outside, my scream echoed again, and she ran to leave, finding me already with toothpaste in my mouth, brushing my teeth. I tilted my head to the side and wished her good night. Good night, what? A few minutes later, Cooking stood beside the bed, looking at me, already asleep wrapped in the blanket. She raised her hand, turned off the bedroom light, and left. But Genhan didn't return home, and went to sleep in the guest room next to mine. She left the doors to both rooms open. Did she know that drunk people risk vomiting and choking at night? She couldn't relax with me, eh? Luckily, I slept peacefully until the next morning. She placed the porridge and hangover soup, which had been delivered, ready-made, on the table. Then she left me a message and went to the company. At noon, I was woken by thirst. I went downstairs somewhat. After getting water from the kitchen and leaving, I noticed the 2 thermal containers on the table. I frowned, intrigued, wondering what they could be. When I got closer, I observed for another moment, and only after making sure it wasn't a bomb did I open the lid and discover a very, very fragrant porridge. I looked around reflexively. I remembered having dinner with Cooking Hanan last night, and then, as I strained to remember, the scenes from the previous night gradually appeared in my head as I realized exactly how I had taken advantage of Cooking in yesterday lobby. I was petrified at that moment. That person was me, that guy who took advantage of the other party, and with every right in the world. It was really me. I collapsed back on the sofa, letting my body bounce a few times. I realized my excessive dependence on Cooking had finally ended. I had reached the point where even my subconscious was acting for me. How could I look her in the face after this? Would it be better to pretend I didn't remember anything? Would Kuzinghan believe me? I was still hesitating when suddenly the doorbell rang. I jumped off the sofa looking like a living dead person and floated to open the door. Seconds later, seeing that it was Gun outside, my brain didn't even work, and I slammed the door shut again immediately. When I realized what I had done, my face turned gray with despair. That movement made it very clear that I remembered what had happened yesterday, even with the door between us. I heard the laughter of the person outside. I took a deep breath and resigned to open the door again. I know I went too far last night. You can scold me. I lowered my head to apologize. Then I closed my eyes, expecting a scolding or a slap, but the slap I imagined didn't come. Instead, a warm hand caressed my head. When I opened my eyes in surprise, I saw the corner of Gookingan's mouth raised. While she was questioning me, she asked, "What exactly did you exaggerate? And then, how can you be so sure I didn't want that?" Before I could react, Gookingan's face had already drawn closer to mine. "Cham, do you know what I wanted to do when you were so close to me last night?" I don't know why, but after Gingan asked that question, my gaze drifted down to her lips, say, what did Gingan want to do? I didn't know, but I knew very well what I wanted to do. As if she had sensed my thoughts, she lowered her heels and put her feet back on the ground. And as she passed by me, she left a sentence. "What I wanted is the same thing you wanted." Hearing that, my face filled with questions, and I ran after her immediately. What thought of mine? What thought of hers? No, wait. What was it I just thought? How did she know? Too bad Gukinghan still hasn't answered my question. Her gaze fell on the hangover soup and porridge that were still tucked away. You just woke up. I wanted to keep asking, but thinking about it, that would make me seem too important. So I swallowed my curiosity and just gave her a cold hum, seeing that Gwynkin had already gone to the kitchen on her own to get it. The cutlery was set aside and the porridge and hangover soup were served separately. That's when I realized she was doing it with too much experience on my ends. At that moment, I remembered the clean table when I woke up and felt an immediate pang of guilt. Don't tell me you were the one who tidied the living room last night. Yes, I grabbed the opportunity cleaning up. Come eat quickly. This person did and thought about things in a way that was too thorough. She wasn't courting me, she was raising me like a son, that's what it was. Seeing that Gingan had already pulled out a chair, I went over and sat down. I took a sip of the yam porridge, thin and velvety, and the person who had just picked up their cell phone looked at me when they heard my voice. "Aren't you gonna eat? I already ate in the company cafeteria, so if you've already eaten, why did you come all the way here?" But I stopped the sentence halfway through because I realized what that meant and closed my mouth in time. But Gingan didn't let such a good opportunity slip away. I came to see if our young Master Shan was already awake. It's just that lately I haven't had anything very important to do, so I've been a little more relaxed. It's not like I sleep until noon every day, watching my movements. Ginghan couldn't help but laugh. She felt that even if I didn't do anything, just seeing me improved her mood uncontrollably. Since Ginghun laughed too loudly, I gave her a dissatisfied look and hurried to finish eating. But I had barely finished when I saw that Ginghun wanted to get up again to tidy up. Hey, no. I'm really not useless. I've been doing this myself, ever since the guest started doing housework. What kind of logic is that? As I spoke, I took the thermal containers and the bowl to the kitchen and, rolling up my sleeves, started washing. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw that Ginghun, I don't know at what point, had come up behind me and was standing in the kitchen doorway, watching me. I felt a little embarrassed at that moment. You don't believe I know how to do housework? No, so why are you looking at me like you're afraid you'll get bored? Oh, that's how it is. Since when does President Guiru keep you company for a chat? Does that pay off? Ginghun didn't get annoyed either, and even pretended to be thinking seriously. Only after seeing me put the bowl in the sterilizer and turn to get the thermal container did he reply, "It pays off. It's not that it pays off that much. The main thing is that it makes the boss happy. Doesn't it, Mr. Shen?" Wiping the drops of water from my hands, I pretended to maintain a cold and distant air. I think it's normal. Normal? Why normal? Mr. Shen, how about telling me at what point it's just normal? The person in front of me had pronounced curves. My eyes sparkled for a moment, but when I realized it, I tried to feign calm and replied, "You're too reserved. Someone who keeps you company for a chat should be a little more like that." Like what? How am I supposed to listen?